A teenager named Ava Friedman and her father have saved the Bachelor mansion from going up in flames.
Wow, ET spoke with Ava via FaceTime to hear about the brave teen's harrowing story.
My dad and I went to our house after we had evacuated to see if it was still standing. And there was fire everywhere, so we were along the road, so we weren't really sure. And when we got there, thankfully it was, and there was no active fire, but we saw that the house next door where they filmed The Bachelor, there was an active fire and already some damage to the property. So we saw this as not only a threat to our house, but a threat to the rest of the property, you know. So we wanted to get this fire out as quickly as possible. So we got in our car and at this point, there wasn't really anyone on the roads because people had already evacuated. So the only cars on the roads were police cars and fire engines. So we got in our car and we tried just to catch the attention of a fire engine. We put our flashers on and we thankfully got the attention of a fire truck, and we talked to them and we said, look, the house down the road, or next door to us, there's a fire and we need to put it out as soon as possible because it could cause more damage than it already has. So these brave men and women went to the fire as soon as we told them this, and thankfully they put it out, and I'm just really happy there wasn't more damage to the property or to my house.
So brave there, so brave. Ava Friedman. More on the story, you guys. ET News Desk, Brendan Joffrin joins us now. Brendan, let's talk about it. Did she, from the video, it sounds like she went to get help because she wanted to do the right thing, but do you think she went to get help also because it was the Bachelor mansion?
We actually asked her about that, and when we spoke about it, she said the first thing that came to her mind was danger. So she thought about her neighborhood. She thought about her house, which neighbors the property of where the Bachelor mansion is out there in Malibu. So again, her first thought was danger. She imagined this entire neighborhood that wasn't affected yet going up in flames. And when she saw this, she thought, oh my gosh, if I don't say something, if I don't get the attention of firemen, then this whole neighborhood, her whole neighborhood could have gone up in flames. But because she flagged the firemen so quickly and they were able to put out those flames, there was only some minor damage to that area. Like we've seen, the mansion, for the most part, survived.
All right, so what else did she say about her experience, Brendan? We heard a lot already, but did she say anything else to you specifically about this experience? Because I could imagine how kind of scary that could be for her.
Absolutely. We kind of touched on, I had her walk me through. When we first jumped on this FaceTime and we were talking, I said, just kind of walk me through from beginning to end what you saw. And you heard a lot of it there in that interview. And when I first talked to her on the phone, when I reached out to her to book her and say, we really want you to tell your story. I mean, you did protect an entire neighborhood, your neighborhood here. She always kept going back to saying, you know, it wasn't just the Bachelor mansion that she was trying to save. It was her entire neighborhood. She was thinking of her neighbor. She's lived in this neighborhood for 5 to 6 years with her family. Again, their property is adjacent to the property where the Bachelor mansion just happens to be. And she was thinking of her neighbors the whole time. But when we spoke on the phone before the interview happened, she was very back and forth on whether or not she wanted to do this interview. She was really just focused on the fact that everyone was okay, the homes were okay, and that her and her family have their home to go back to.
Such a strong sense of community there, Brendan. So impressive for such a young woman. So can we touch briefly, though, on the Bachelor mansion? Because for days now, there have been conflicting reports of if the house is okay, it's completely obliterated. What is the state of the Bachelor mansion as of today?
So I just spoke with our producer, Angelique Jackson, who actually was in Malibu today with our host, Kevin Frazier, and they had walked through the mansion, and I believe you'll see more of that interview coming up. But when I spoke to her, she had mentioned that there was the air was a bit smoky in the room where they shoot the rose ceremony when they're filming the show. She had mentioned there was some other parts of the property that were damaged, a storage facility which caught on fire, which I believe she described as holding pool supplies and stuff like that. But as we keep mentioning, the main mansion on the property where they really filmed the show for the franchise, luckily only received some minor damage, again, being the smoky room. Angelique had mentioned to me that they believe maybe some windows were open, so that's why the smoke came in. She said they believe they might have to do some repainting in the house. But again, it's important to note that the main structure, the main building on the property did survive.
Well, that's good to hear. So even though there just was some minor damage, I know some Bachelor fans out there might want to know, is this going to derail production for the new season of The Bachelor?
We have spoken to sources who tell us it's not. We understand that Colton, who is obviously The Bachelor this coming season, already filmed the scenes that he needed to film at the property earlier in the season, and they're now filming at other locations, other remote locations. So luckily, this shouldn't derail production from what we understand, and everything is moving ahead as planned with the show.
Right. Well, like I said earlier, Ava is a true heroine in this. Yes. So thankful for her. And having, again, a strong sense of community there, Brendan. Strong sense.
Definitely.
Absolutely. And I said to her, I said, she had mentioned there, and you'd saw it at the top here, that, she thanked the brave firemen and women. But, I mean, we have her and her neighbors have her to thank, too, because she really did prevent this from possibly taking over her entire neighborhood up there.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Courage.
More loss there. Brendan, thank you so much. Always a pleasure.
Thank you, Brendan.
Thanks, guys.
All right, well, that's not all. Kevin Frazier spoke to Marshall Harradine, the owner of the Bachelor Mansion, about the conflicting reports he received about the state of his house.
A friend of mine called me that lives out in the area, and about 2 o'clock in the afternoon, says, dude, I just went by your house. Your house is gone.
So you thought it was gone?
I was gone. And I just kind of sat down on the floor and said, Because between the borderline stuff going on and then this, and then it's just a lot at one time. And then I got another report about 4.5, 5 hours later from another friend of mine, Scott Ehrlich, down the street. And he went by and he looked at it and he said, dude, your front building is gone. Your 4,000 square foot studio is gone. And the rest of the house is untouched. So I'm going, okay, I need to see it for myself.
Wow.
Yeah.
I could imagine the relief that he feels. Some people went home and they unfortunately didn't have the experience that he did once he got home and saw that his house was still standing. So,
but also him, what he said, it's been a lot with the borderline shooting and then this, just wrapping your mind around all of that. And then when something hits so close to home, how do you react? What do you say? What do you do? It's not every day that these things happen to people personally.
Right.
So when this takes a seat at the table, what do you do?
I mean, it teaches you compassion and empathy for others that go through it, and I think everyone goes through things for a reason, and maybe something personal in his life is teaching him something, but we never know. But I'm just glad that he's okay.
Right, there's a positive.
There is a positive in everything, but we just have to keep in mind all of the people that did not have that experience of going home and seeing their home still standing.
Yeah, it's been a lot for us, and we've been covering this a lot here at ET Live. And again, here at ET Live, we wish all the families, everyone impacted, all the best. You're in our prayers, and yeah, we're standing strong for you guys.